All right. Happy Monday, everyone. I missed you this weekend, but we're making up for it today and this week. I might try to do every single weekday, but we'll see if that works out or not. Today, I want to talk about narratives and the power of narrative to shape our world. I'm going to have Fish Tank going on in the background. I hope you don't mind that. But we might use the browser for some things. I'll play the intro, and then we'll be right back, and then we'll go. So, yep.
But when the show finally turned on for the first time to get the bugs worked out, it's finally in a position where we could turn it on. I had tears in my eyes. There was some problems, there were some bugs that needed to be worked out, little knick-knack, little stuff. But it didn't matter. I seen it. They came to life. For 25 years they've been sitting in a crate, and I just breathed the first breath of life into them. And yet again, there's no words to describe it. I sat here and I cried like a child because my dream had just came true.
I never walk about after dark. It's my point of view. 'Cause someone could break your neck, coming up behind you, always coming, and you'd never have a clue. And now I look behind all the time. I will wait forever, always looking straight, thinking, counting all the hours you wait. See you on a dark night. 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 And now another clue I would ask if you could help me out. It's hard to understand, 'cause when you're running by yourself, it's hard to find someone to hold your hand. No, it's gonna be tough for me, but I will wait for you. I need someone else to look into my eyes and tell me, girl, you know you gotta watch your health. To look into my eyes and tell me, la 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 la. To look into my eyes and tell me, la 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 la. La 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 la. To look into my eyes and tell me, la 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 la. La 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 la. See you on a dark night. See you on a dark night. See you on a dark night. See you on a dark night.
But when the show finally turned on,
I still don't have that transition down. So good day to y'all. I'm going to take a quick drink. I know I just had the whole dang intro. I'm still caught up in fish tank drama. I don't know if you want to look up a past video I made last week on proxies, but these reality shows where it's like you can see drama playing out right before you, like people being involved with silly conflicts and things like that. It's just, there's just something about it that's really funny. And I guess that's something that kind of leads into narrative where, what is it about reality TV or fiction in general that captures our imaginations and attention? Something about the narrative and the story of the people involved and then the issues that they overcome. There's something that appeals to us and resonates with the way that we relate with the world. I could even have compassion for somebody in completely different circumstances than me, and I can find inspiration in their strength and their virtuosity or whatever. Even if I don't have their same circumstances, their narrative can give me strength. And then on the inverse of that, if there's depressive or deprived narratives where people are situated in a really desperate situation, those deprived narratives could keep them from experiencing or conceiving of a life other than the deprived narratives, if that makes sense. Like you could get either way, either side of it. Hold on just a moment. So where does this come from? I was in, I learned about therapy, and my basic background is a bias toward critical theory, deconstruction, things like that. So social constructivism, and this idea that most of our reality, and we can think about like there's actual reality, objective reality, and then there's social reality. Of course we have objective reality, but most of social reality that we experience, like let's say if people think I'm a nice guy or if people think I'm a bad guy based on my reputation, that changes actual reality because people will treat me differently. Social constructions, right? Like I'm married. There's some things where it's like, this is my child. That's more than a social construction. Maybe I need to be thin or I need to conform to certain standards, right? We have all these different scripts that we follow that are all socially conceived. And so a critical theorist like Michel Foucault or some of those kinds of guys would say, well, why do we do the things we do? And you start to peel back the layers with deconstruction. And so my bias, like I like to investigate. It's fun to learn more about things. And you dig underneath like an archaeologist and you try to understand what's going on. Why do we take the premises that we already accept for granted? Why do we not operate differently? And that is a useful practice, but if that's your only way of operating, where you're just dissecting everything and you're cutting it up and you're looking underneath and trying to investigate for answers, at some point it becomes less of a functional process and more of a I don't even know, it's kind of contorted, right? It's like the depth psychology, these people that are into well, we can investigate the reason whys, and if we keep on asking questions, we can figure it out. This almost like a confidence or hubris that they can solve all the riddles or mysteries of the ego or personhood. I'm not so sure about it, and there's this question of maybe things are best left undisturbed, right? Like maybe the log doesn't have to be turned over. We don't have to see everything happening. It's better that those things stay there. Hold on. So with deconstructivism, I was led toward narrative therapy, where with narrative therapy, the way that they help people going through problems is, of course, you can, you're addressing the problem with your real actions, right, in a meaningful way. Like, if you do this action, does it help you? Does it not help you? You're still doing that. But a lot of narrative therapy involves the story that's being told. And in a deprived narrative, you would have somebody show up for therapy and everyone says, well, this person's a screw up. They're depressed. There's something wrong with them. When they show up for therapy, by then, all of the problem and all of the issue has been thrown onto them as an object that must be corrected, right? Like, you're here because there's something wrong with you. And so this person shows up and they're like, wow, I'm so fucked up. Like, this sucks, right? A narrative therapist would look at this with some sort of, humanness. There's a kind of humanism of recognizing kind of a trust that everyone has more of a story than they may let on to. And so they show up and they say, I'm a piece of shit, I suck. A narrative therapist, like a good interviewer, right? Like a newspaper journalist that's really a kind person, not like the latest journalist, but they would investigate in a gentle way. So this is your story. Well, what's going on? Can you tell me more? And you start to flush out the details in the corners of the story that they maybe haven't attended to. So it's like, maybe there has been a time where they actually were able to be a helpful person in a circumstance, or people were really grateful and appreciative of something that they did. Or there's a time, maybe not, somebody says, there's nothing I'm good at, I'm a total failure. And it's like, are you sure about that? There's really nothing then? And they're like, well, I do like playing Frisbee with my dog. It's like, well, do you cheer your dog up then? It's like, well, yeah. It's like, well, then it's kind of sad, but if there's just nothing else you're good at than being a good friend to your dog, is that maybe enough? And they're like, well, I don't know, maybe, right? But so now you're starting to unseat the trap that would kill somebody, the despair of a deprived story that is not diverse in the elements that it represents. A constricting story a lot of times will lead people to death, right? Slow or fast suicide. And so you slowly unseat that. You say, okay, I'm an okay person that's good at some things and bad at others. And you slowly draw them out and help them. The other thing, and I'm expressing more motivation here, narrative therapy is very protective of not interjecting one's will. If I show up and I say to you, I hear your life story, now listen to me, I'm going to tell you the top 3 things that you need to follow, right? And I just steamroll you, or I just like throw it at you, right? That is it is kind of like a violation or violent, in that I'm inflicting my perspectives on that person, whether or not they asked for it. If I start giving them unwelcome advice and just like shoving a bunch of beliefs down their throat, I am not respecting the grounds that I walk, which is their own narrative. And that's the question of narrative therapy, is who has the storytelling rights to the story being told? A lot of times the story being told about someone else is being told by other people rather than the person that's in the middle of it themselves. And so with narrative therapy, it would be, you'd help somebody take possession of their story again. If this went the way you wanted it to, how would it have gone? How would you want people to see you? You wake up, the dream question is fun. You wake up in the morning the next day. What would be the first clue that things are going the way that you want them to? And that's like more of a projective technique. the narrative thing would be more of an immediacy of, let's think about times when like we've seen exceptional behavior. Also this externalizing the problem. So rather than it being about you, we start to speak about, you're not bulimic, you're not depressed, you're a person that is trying to figure out how to live with or deal with depression, or you're trying to find your way with healthier eating. And once you talk about things outside of a person, they can start to orient in a conceptual way that divorces themselves from the problem. And in that way, they can strategize and feel like they can feel negativity and resentment. I hate this. I hate this part of myself or this thing that I'm dealing with, but it isn't who I am. And that ability to delineate is so important, to not inflict harm on yourself, psychically or psychologically when you're thinking about these things. The narrative stuff, the issue is if you become too indulgent in narrative. And so if it's like, yes, you are a cat and you are transsexual and we are going to cut off all of your genitals, right? And this is all in service of your narrative, and we're going to clap and celebrate you doing everything. I had an ex who I introduced to the narrative therapy stuff, and she's had to deal with a lot of real life hard truth situations. And so, she reacted that the narratives are all well and good, but they can't be everything. And that's the thing of a narrative can help us relate with reality, and we can even change reality if we're driven by a strong narrative. But if that is out of conjunction with reality and just, at that point it may become a delusion, and it's not even harmonious or adaptive for us to believe that delusion. For us to maintain that false narrative or detached narrative only alienates us from reality. And if that means that I think I'm the king of England and I'm sipping my tea and having the best life, okay, sure, maybe that's fine. But there's other people who have narratives that involve victimization of other people or a lot of negative activity. And so if you buy into, or even like self-harm, right? Like, I don't know, self-harm narratives, Another thing to think about, and I'll just say, I guess the reservation there is, beware of your depth with narrative. Don't get too sold on a story. But I don't know, it's weird, right? Like, a marriage is a narrative, a family is a narrative. Why did we get married? What are we here to do together? What's our priority that we share? And then what's our ending going to look like in a marriage? Jobs and careers are narratives, and how you're engaged with them. A family's a narrative with their different dramas. Another thing I think about with this is, and this may disturb some of y'all, but imagine if you lost one of the plot lines of your life. So maybe you were going to do something and you were really on the path, but for whatever reason you got distracted or diverted. You had something hang up. You said, I'll have to just put this on the shelf for now. And you dropped that narrative. And it's just this plot line that is just, unattended to, that may never happen or may never be realized. I've thought about that sometimes, about being disturbed. So, of course, you want to be comfortable and you want to be happy and well, right? Like if you're in a house, or if you have like a friend or family member who's pissed off and yelling, you probably are going to try to help soothe them, or you're going to say, okay, what's going on? Can you explain it? Can we talk about it? Can I do anything to help you? Narratively, though, what if the plot of their narrative requires that they stay angry? Like, what if something has happened that's so offensive and contemptible that for them to sit quietly and to catch their breath and take a sip of tea, to do any of that would be negligent of the degree of trouble that the narrative presents. Who knows? So is it like, you have to ask yourself, do I need to stay angry? Is it important that I stay mad, that I stay connected to the negativity of whatever thing I might be reacting to in my life? And then if I soothe myself and I adapt, does that mean that I become accustomed to that evil or that negativity in my life because it no longer makes me agitated and tilted? The middle path, and this is borrowing on Buddhist sensibilities, the middle path of this is we will neither neglect it nor will we clutch it like a blanket. The 24/7 victim would say, clings to their grievances, right? And all these things that have happened to them, and they don't let it go at all. And then the hippie person forgives the homeless guy that just robbed him, and then the homeless guy stabs him, and he says, "I forgive you," and tells the police officer that shows up, "Please don't press any charges," and dies. Right? That's so we have both poles. You can choose as you wish. The middle path here is that you have a functional level of disturbance where you are you're sensing what's occurring. Your body is responding to what's happening. You are adequately disturbed or angry or whatever it may be by it, but it's not so much that it becomes and this is like the narrative thing, that it takes up the entire narrative, that you lose sight of everything else in your life that you care about. If somebody's so caught up by anger that they're going to go on a murderous, driving spree or whatever, they have lost the narrative of every other thing in their life. They might be a father, they might be, a loving son, any of those things. And now they're entirely devoting their whole life, their mortality, to the story of a grievance or grudge or something like that. So manage your depth with these narratives. It's so crazy because I've been talking about individual narratives, but there's also social and collective narratives. And so even in America right now, we have our election that's happening tomorrow. There's this whole question of confidence, like if people believe the reality of an election result. So regardless of how we vote, a week from now, when they say this is the leader, will people narratively buy into it? Or will, narratively speaking, are they already on the rails to be to believe a completely different story, and then in a social reality setting, almost like a manifest anarchy? Because if there's not a consensus reality where in America everyone agrees on who won presidency, then the manifest reality, because of a lack of consensus reality, is that nobody will be president unless there's agreement. It's just going to be a performance in name only. And that's what I mean about the power of narrative is if we don't buy into it as humans, right? We can be as rationalist, objectivist as we want. If we don't buy into a narrative as humans, it won't happen. If the policeman that pulls me over decides, I'm not going to be a police officer today because I do some sort of voodoo mind trick and I'm really nice to him, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to be a human being more than I'll be a police officer, and I'm just going to be kind, right? That's a narrative shift, and there's some degree of usurpation there. I had this here, hang on. I really like narrative shifts because they create opportunity for change, but there's lots of people that want a clear story and want things to be settled and firm. In Fish Tank, so they just had, everyone's been in their rooms and kind of like buckled in to their chosen locations for a week, and they just told all the fish that they have to stay in different rooms tonight, which means that they're going to be forced into these conflictual situations and these like social pods that they otherwise wouldn't have been. And so narratively, the staff of the show have thrown this wrench into the works where now there's going to be all kinds of drama, information spill and exchange, and it's going to create all these accidental stories that emerge from it, like a weird little garden or something. And so it's really fun to see like what everyone does, and then it's fun to see the viewers make stories of what they do. We could get into, like, I haven't read much about it, but Joseph Campbell, who has written on, the archetypical mythos and those kinds of narratives, and it's fun to think about occupying those roles in certain situations. Like you can draw up the strength of a mythological or great historical legendary figure, and you can let that inspire you, and in a narrative way. And this is the thing, it's sort of sweet and sad. People with their own religions, their religions often give them a narrative to understand the world. But if you've been raised in a secular world, or you're agnostic or atheistic or whatever, you may not even have that narrative structure to energize yourself and to kind of like give yourself that like that force and charge. And so using narrative, you can use, it's like a mind hack, right? Like if you really persuade yourself of something subjectively, you can mind hack yourself, and let's say I'm channeling Hercules or whatever it is, my favorite legendary figure, anything it is. Obviously I'm not going to overcome human boundaries and start flying or anything like that, but why can't I let that placebo effect, that enchantment, me believing that a magic ritual worked, why can't I buy in like that? Why do I have to, as a secular person or a not religious person, have to live without that extra, very natural, like ingrained human engine inside of us? So it's just something to think about of what narratives maybe do you buy into personally, and do you prioritize? And even are there narratives that other people have sold you that aren't serving you, that maybe you could give less of a priority or less space in your life? One of my biases, hang on. So for a long time in my life, I was very intent on holding things together and construction and like that kind of long-term thing. And in narrative, you can, if you convince yourself and other people enough, you can get very, very far if people are bought in. The issue is if it's it's kind of like a lost voyage, right? Like if I'm on a Viking ship and we're sailing across the Pacific, but we don't have enough to get to the other side, and I'm like, well, maybe we should turn around, and everyone else is like, no, we gotta go. Do I just go down with them, and that's just how it is? So you have to question some of these narratives that we buy into. And I became, it's deconstruction, right? If you do too much deconstruction, you're at risk of losing what you already had. And so my bias, when I originally wanted to be like a family therapist and to keep couples together, my worry became that the people I spoke with and the people I helped would all end up breaking up, or their relationships would become disturbed or unsettled, because it's almost like there's too much of there's disruption in asking questions about things. And if people can't tolerate the rocking of the waves or the boat and things changing, a lot of times they just can't bear it, and they'll jump off and they'll just like abandon ship and run away. My sense is I stick in for longer, and I have more of a tolerance for conflict or suspense and uncertainty than other people. But a lot of people are very self-protective, and even in ways that may not serve them, because they jump off too early, or they start doing like panicky, it's like the rat on the burning ship thing, where you're just, you're not actually doing anything that's helping yourself. You're overreacting to what's occurring. And so with narrative shifts, like if you challenge dominant narratives of how things are being told, be ready for people to be disturbed by you, and maybe to react like even if you didn't say anything bad or mean to anyone, they might say something mean to you, because you've threatened the narrative way that they understand the world. And if you say a question that throws a wrench in the works, and they can't like balance the equation anymore, it just doesn't add up because of something that you've introduced, they might, falsely attribute it as you having the problem, or you being the issue, because you introduced that to them. So be careful about all that. Now, what else? I know the outro I want to play y'all, but I have to make sure that I download it. Let's listen to Fish Tank briefly for fun. I want to see if the audio through works. I feel bad. Last time I did this, the audio throughput didn't work. And so we're going to give it a go. So hold on. I gotta turn this down. That goes down, that goes up. And then you go.
I just feel like
Alright, hang on.
breakfast was so stern.
Teddy!
You have to be strong.
Teddy, are you up there?
You have something.
I'm not scared. I mean, definitely.
They are talking about you in the yard symbol.
Of course they are, computer.
Of course they are, computer. You know why? Because they have nothing better to do in life.
I hope with everything going on, you guys aren't too unsettled, and you're able to keep track of your own narratives.
You have something people want. You have to decide carefully who to give it to.
Yeah, they want to. Teddy, Alex, Alexis.
It started raining over here too. I love the fall season. There's just something so wonderful about it. Although it's a troublesome season. I feel like in the fall there's a lot of change, and so if you're not
He's not gonna
ready
drink
for
them
the
right now,
change that
but, like,
happens, it's gonna screw you up.
He doesn't drink. Everyone else got 3. But besides you and Teddy. You guys got more. Yeah.
Interesting. Alright, gang.
Should we talk to them?
Yeah, but I need something to hold.
Symbol a lion is patient. A lion is calculated. Be the lion.
Alright, I'll let y'all do your thing.
You heard that?
Symbol, save those beers for Alexis. She is going to need them after this election. Show them how it's done, Lion King.
Damn.
Mizzy, are you not a patriot? Patriots drink beer.
Maybe they'll copyright strike me.
Except for me, I guess. I eat hot sauce bananas.
Shoot, man. I need to get this. There's one.
She's not pregnant, so she
I'm gonna mute it, okay? So there's one document I made when I was still doing narratives, and it's based on this practice of letter writing. So if you're creating a new narrative, it helps to write letters and to involve other people in what's happening. And so you can ask, like with letter writing, you could say, look, this is something I'm seeking for perspectives on. Can you provide any times you've seen me overcome this or do this or that? And it's really fun because you'll get all these really supportive letters from people that create a body of text rather than like all the, let's say like all the complaint letters or all the report forms or issues, the negative documentation. You can create a different kind of documentation through a letter writing campaign that substantiates and is an evidence of a different kind of reality that is real, that the other documents are neglectful of. So it's really neat, right? And so let me dig up, because I don't think it'll take too long. Here it is, okay? Yeah. Just a moment, please. We'll give them back. Okay. They're so loud.
I understand, but
I'm not ready to talk, bro. I'm really not. Please. They're all trying to be chill.
Okay.
I really believe you this morning for a couple seconds.
yeah, me too.
Monday. Just begun.
Simple is an excellent nickname for Simple. I will add it to my database. Thank you for the suggestion, Alex.
Signal. Simple.
Alex, would you rather take the words of people who have betrayed you, or the
All right.
words of a computer that sees everything?
Full cam.
Yeah, kill him, Prince. You got him on the neck.
If you're interested in this, please tune in to fishtank.live to get more interesting reality voyeur shows and experience your own narratives. Okay. So now we're going to do create new super slide. All right. Look at this. So I don't know, for better or worse, I became very good at breaking up things, and one of the culminations of my work with all of this is writing this make your own breakup letter. And the intention was somebody could write this toward anything that was taking out too much influence in their life. Like, when I was drafting it, I wrote it as Dear Alcohol, comma. And then, the idea was that they were writing a letter to alcohol, kind of like an Eminem song or something. It's like, hey, it's not happening. We ain't working out, blah, blah, blah. And giving this and sharing this with people and then hearing back from them about the kinds of letters they wrote with it, it was so powerful. And so this is an example, you can use this if you wish. Maybe I'll try to post a document for people that they can print off, but this is an example of creating a letter or a narrative document that can change your life. Because if you really commit yourself to something like this, and then you refer to it again and again, and you read it over and over, you are, it's like playing a track in your head, like it's casting a spell in your life over and over again. It's like a love letter. If you wrote somebody, it's really sweet. If write somebody a letter every year or a love letter every year and just kind of like recount the things that you guys did and things like that. And if you commit to a practice like that, you'll have this really rich library of all of your memories together. And any of you, either of you can go back and revisit those times with those letters. And so there's something very special. This letter, though, it's like a magic spell to cast a spell of change and to cast a spell of sealing a different chapter, ending a chapter and beginning another. So with that big introduction, I'll just read it. Dear blank, we're not working out. I know you've been a part of my life for a very long time, but things have to change. Our relationship began when I first met you in college and we were having fun and blah, blah, blah. You gave me thrills and joy and trouble, but mostly a lot of good memories. after a while, things started to change a bit, and it wasn't really fun as much. You surprised me when you made me show up to work naked and got me fired from my job. If only you cared more about me. You had me believe that I was somebody that was important to you and that I was on your team. The reality for me is that you don't care about me at all, and my life has to go on without you. I'll never forget the way you looked at me when you called me a filthy pig. If I encounter you again, I'll turn my back and won't even give you the time of day. I wish we could patch things up and make things better, but it's just not going to happen. I'm out. I'm not going to have any more. Yours truly, 6. So, you get the idea. I love it, and I think the thing that's really great about it is that these stems give people each part that they can express themselves. You even get a free stem here of I, like whatever the hell you want to write at the end. But it seems like, you kind of like cover the beats here with the different turns of a relationship, because of course you have to recognize it's not all bad, but if things have turned south, it's like once you've sown enough bad will and bad history with somebody, it really would have to take an entirely new, like a transformational, like an awesome kind of thing to overcome that. And all too often people just think, well, let's just try again. And it's like trench warfare, World War I. It's like, let's get back in the trench. And then they get gassed again. And then they run away. And then they get back in the trench and they get gassed again. And so a lot of people need help with breaking up with the things that they're emotionally attached to. With all that said, right now our social discourses are more toward treating everyone disposably and throwing each other away. And so I'm as much as like I may be a breakup artist and all about cutting ties or whatever, and like, not being too bought into anything, if you don't ever devote yourself to something, then you may never have anything wonderful and miraculous grow in your life. So that makes it even more important that the thing you devote yourself to is something that's right for you. So I hope that everyone in seeking finds a narrative that they can follow that is congruent with their heart and how they want to be, and that feeds them. And I want you to, in your life, as you may imagine a narrative that you identify with, I want you to try to attend to examples of what may confirm that narrative more. Even if it's just the start of like, I'm not always an asshole. And then you catch yourself smiling at somebody, or, like you catch yourself being nice, right? That's how you grow, because you're subjectively in your mind and psyche, and then in your manifested experience, you're occupying a different way of being and a different storyline. And so there's something really special about that. So, bit by bit, at your own pace, and then don't be tortured by self-improvement, right? We don't always have to be going up and getting better. But we can hope that everyone's able to find a way with things, especially if they're encountering new challenges. We can wish them a safe passage. and, you know, wish them well. I will try to stream tomorrow, but it might be patchy. And if not tomorrow, I guaranteed can stream on Wednesday. So we'll see. But I thought it'd be funny to stream on election day because it's like reality is totally off the rails during election day. And so it'll be fun to see what happens. Anyways, I'm going to play us out with a fun little music video and then I'll go. And that'll be it. All right. Cheers, y'all, and wish you well.
This ordinary thing can be more colorful than you say it is. The cardinal sin is to tell a lie, but now you